Welcome back to another edition of Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie.
And we are here to talk about books for those of you who miss going on vacation.
So our books today will have a travel theme or an interesting setting that will make you feel like you are traveling by book.
We are open for curbside pickup, so if you see a title you like, just put it on hold at infosoup.org. And when you get that little notification that it's in, just come to the library, give us a call, and we will bring the book out to you curbside.
So my first pick is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Baring. It takes place in Savannah, Georgia, which is one of my favorite cities to visit. Theme of this book is shots ring out in Savannah's grandest mansion in the misty early morning of May 2nd, 1981. Was it murder or was it self-defense? For nearly a decade, the shooting and its aftermath reverberated through this hauntingly beautiful city of moss-hung oaks and shaded squares. The story reads like an engrossing novel, and yet it is a work of non-fiction. It's a spellbinding story that's filled with remarkable characters. There's the well-bred society ladies of the Married Women's Card Club, the young redneck gigolo, the hapless recluse who owns a bottle of poison so powerful it could kill every man, woman, and child in Savannah, the aging and profane Southern belle who is the soul of pampered self-absorption, the uproariously funny Lady Chablis, the black drag queen, the arrogant antique stealer, Jim Williams, Minerva the voodoo priestess. There's a whole cast of characters in this book. And they all thrive in a town where everyone knows everyone else and what they're doing. In 1997, this book was made into a movie by Clint Eastwood. You may be familiar with the movie. And as a traveler, we have visited several of the famous locations mentioned in this book. The Mercer House, where Jim Williams, the antique stealer, lived. The Bonaventure Cemetery, with the Bird Girl statue used to be, but now it's at the Telfair Academy. So, fun read that takes place in Savannah, Georgia, a really beautiful city.
Fun. So my first choice is The Jet Setters. This is if you wish to go on a cruise. When 70-year-old Charlotte Perkins submits a sexy essay to the Become a Jet Setter contest, she dreams of reuniting her estranged children, Lee, an almost famous actress, Cord, a handsome Manhattan venture capitalist who can't seem to find a bride, and Reagan, a harried mother who took it all wrong when Charlotte brought her a Weight Watchers gift certificate for her birthday. Charlotte yearns for the years when her children were young, and she was a single mother who meant everything to them. When she wins the cruise, the family packs all their baggage, literal and figurative, and spends 10 days traveling from sun-drenched Athens to glorious Rome to tapas-laden Barcelona and an over-the-top cruise ship, the Splendido Marveloso.
Ooh, that sounds fancy.
Yeah. As lovers new and old join the adventure, long-buried secrets are revealed, and the Perkins family is forced to confront the defining choices of their life. This has been compared to The Vacationers and The Nest. So, cruise.
We look like we're ready for a cruise.
Yeah, I think we do.
So my second pick is the book Memoirs of a Geisha. You may be familiar with that cover or the one that came out when the movie came out of this story. And I chose this book because my dad was stationed in Japan at the end of World War II. So I thought it would be interesting to learn more about what life was like at that time in history. So this one kind of takes you back in time. In Memoirs of a Geisha, we enter a world where appearances are paramount, where a girl's virginity is auctioned to the highest bidder, where women are trained to beguile the most powerful of men, and where love is scorned as illusion. Speaking to us with the wisdom of age, Sayuri tells the story of her life as a geisha. It begins in a poor fishing village in 1929 when, as a 9-year-old girl with her unusual blue-gray eyes, she's taken from her home and sold into slavery to a renowned geisha house. We witness her transformation as she learns the rigorous art of the geisha, dance and music, the wearing of a kimono, elaborate makeup and hair, pouring sake to reveal just a touch of inner wrist, and competing with a jealous rival for men's solicitude and the money that goes with it. When World War II erupted, the geisha houses are forced to close, and we see our character reinvent herself to find a new kind of freedom on her own terms. Sayuri emigrated to New York City in 1956, and this book also was made into a movie, as I mentioned. So if you're interested in a trip back in time and you want to go back to Kyoto, Japan and see what it was like from the 1920s through the end of World War II, this may be the book for you.
That's an amazing book. It really is. It surprises me too because it's from the perspective of a woman and it's written by a man. Quite astonishing. My next book is nonfiction. It's somebody's real life of visiting something. The Year of Living Danishly by Helen Russell. Denmark is officially the happiest nation on earth. When Helen Russell is forced to move to rural Jutland, can she discover the secrets of their happiness? Or will the long, dark winters and pickled herring take their toll? That sounds too familiar, maybe. A Year of Living Danishly looks at where the Danes get it right, where they get it wrong, and how we might benefit from living a little more Danishly ourselves. So,
cute.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's cute. My third pick for traveling today is Turn Right at Machu Picchu, Rediscovering the Lost City One Step at a Time by Mark Adams. This is a nonfiction book, and I chose this one because I've had both friends and family make this hike to Machu Picchu, which is, I think, 25 to 30 miles to get up there. So July 24th, 1911 was a day for the history books. On that rainy morning, the young Yale professor Hiram Bingham III climbed into the Andes Mountains of Peru and encountered an ancient city in the clouds, the now famous citadel of Machu Picchu. Nearly a century later, news reports have recast the hero explorer as a villain who smuggled out priceless artifacts and stole credit for finding one of the world's greatest archaeological sites. Mark Adams, our author, has spent his career editing adventure and travel magazines, so his plan to investigate the allegations against Bingham by retracing the explorer's perilous path to Machu Picchu isn't really completely far-fetched, even if it did require him to sleep in a tent for the first time. With an antisocial Australian survivalist and several mule tenders as his guides, he takes the readers through some of the most gorgeous and historic landscapes in Peru, from the ancient Inca capital to some of the very famous ruins. Along the way, he finds a still undiscovered country populated with brilliant and eccentric characters, as well as an answer to the question that has nagged scientists since Hiram Bingham's time: just what was Machu Picchu? Well, we know it was built around 1450 AD. It was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983 and was named one of the new 7 Wonders of the World in 2007. So if you want to learn more about Machu Picchu, this might be a fun read.
It takes you away. It's educational vacation. I have another nonfiction book. It's called From Scratch. This is a memoir of love, Sicily, and finding home. It's by Tembi Locke. This was a Reese's Book Club pick. You can see the little sticker there. It's a memoir, is a cross-cultural love story set against the lush backdrop of the Sicilian countryside, where one woman discovers the healing powers of food, family, and unexpected grace in her darkest hours. It was love at first sight when Tammy met professional chef Cero on a street in Florence. There was just one problem. Cero's traditional Sicilian family did not approve of him marrying a black American woman, an actress no less. However, the couple, heartbroken but undeterred, forges on. They build a happy life in Los Angeles, fulfilling careers with deep friendships and the love of their lives, a baby girl they adopted at birth. Eventually, they reconcile with Cero's family just as he faces a formidable cancer that will consume their dreams.
Oh.
So, From Scratch chronicles 3 summers Tembi spends in Sicily with her daughter Zoella as she begins to piece together a life without her husband in his tiny hometown hamlet of farmers. Where once Tembi was estranged from Cero's family in origin, she now finds solace and nourishment, literally and spiritually, at her mother-in-law's table. In the Sicilian countryside, she discovers the healing gifts of simple, fresh food, the embrace of close-knit community, and timeless traditions, wisdom that light a path forward. In Sicily, it is said that every story begins with a marriage or a death. In Tembi Locke's case, it is both. Her story is about loss, it's really about love found. Her story is about travel, but it's really about finding home. And there's food involved, so I like that too. Sicily, I would want to eat the food.
Have you read that one?
No, I have not.
That sounds really good.
From Scratch.
All right, and my 4th pick is just because it sounded like a gorgeous and glamorous novel, I picked this one. This is Villa America by Liza Klausman. And this author does for Sarah and Gerald Murphy what Paula McLean, which I think Jill's going to talk about that book, The Paris Wife, and Michael Cunningham did for Ernest Hemingway and Virginia Woolf. So Villa America was in fact a real house on the French Riviera that the Murphys built to escape to in the 1920s. They were members of a group of expat Americans, and they were known for their fabulous parties and for making the Riviera into the glamorous place it is today. Their freewheeling days were filled with champagne and caviar, but these were people who kept secrets and were, of course, heartbreakingly human. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, Pablo Picasso, Cole and Linda Porter, and Ernest Hemingway were some of the summer guests of Sarah and Gerald Murphy. This is a stunning story about the lost generation, a marriage, and a golden age which could not last. Misunderstood and from vastly different backgrounds, the Murphys met and married young and set forth to create this beautiful world. But before long, a stranger enters into their relationship, and their marriage must accommodate an intensity that neither had foreseen. When tragedy strikes, their friends reach out to them, but their golden bowl is shattered, and neither Gerald nor Sarah will ever be the same. Intrigued by this story? Then you'll have to read this book and escape to the French Riviera.
French Riviera. Oh, I would go there.
I know, it sounds glamorous.
So this is kind of an older book. It's The Paris Wife by Paula McLean. It was published in 2011, but it's one of my favorites because it takes you to one of my favorite places, Paris. And it's like with the Ernest Hemingway and his wife Hadley and all that Paris crowd. So it's Chicago, 1920. Hadley Richardson is a quiet 28-year-old who has all but given up love and happiness until she meets Ernest Hemingway, and her life changes forever. Following a whirlwind courtship and wedding, the pair set sail for Paris, where they become the golden couple and live in a lively and volatile group, the fabled Lost Generation that includes Gertrude Stein, Ezra Pound, and F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. Though deeply in love, the Hemingways are ill-prepared for the hard drinking and fast living of jazz-age Paris, which hardly values traditional notions of family and monogamy. Surrounded by beautiful women and competing egos, Ernest struggles to find the voice that will earn him a place in history, pouring all the richness and intensity of his life with Hadley and their circle of friends in the novel that will become The Sun Also Rises. Hadley, meanwhile, strives to hold on to her sense of self as she demands of life with Ernest grow costly, with their roles as wife, friend, and muse become more challenging. Despite their extraordinary bond, they eventually find themselves facing ultimate crisis in their marriage, a deception that will lead to the unraveling of everything they fought so hard for. A heartbreaking portrayal of love and torn loyalty, The Paris Wife is all the more poignant because we know in the end Hemingway wrote that he would rather have died than fallen in love with anyone but Hadley. So
I liked that book when
it's
I read it.
Really
yeah,
good.
That was a good one.
I love that Hemingway crowd thing.
My last pick for today is 4 Seasons in Rome on twins, insomnia, and the biggest funeral in the history of the world by Anthony Doerr. You might be familiar with this author who wrote the Pulitzer Prize-winning bestseller All the Light We Cannot See.
Oh, yeah.
So he has received many awards from the New York Public Library, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the American Library Association. And then came the Rome Prize, one of the most prestigious awards from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, and with it a stipend and a writing studio in Rome for a year. So he learned of the award the day he and his wife returned from the hospital with their newborn twins. So 4 Seasons in Rome describes his varied adventures in one of the most enchanting cities in the world. He reads Dante and Keats, the chroniclers of Rome who came before him. He visits the piazzas, the temples, the ancient cisterns they describe, and he attends the vigil of a dying Pope John Paul II and takes his twins to the Pantheon in December to wait for snow to fall through the oculus. He and his family are embraced by the butchers, the grocers, the bakers of the neighborhood, whose clamor of stories and idiosyncratic child-rearing advice is compelling as the city itself. It's an intimate book, it's a celebration of Rome, it's a wondrous look at new parenthood, and a fascinating story of a writer's craft, the process by which he transforms what he sees and experiences around him into actual sentences in his book. So, like my previous pick with the French Riviera, I was just intrigued to learn more about this area. That's a very popular area with the tourists.
Rome, that's on my list. So this might not be the way you want to travel, but I chose American Dirt by Janine Cummins. You probably have seen this book. It was quite a splash in 2020. It's a different take on travel because it's set in Mexico with a main character who's trying to escape. And so Lydia Quixada Perez lives in a Mexican city of Acapulco. She runs a bookstore. She has a son, Luca, who is the love of her life, and a wonderful husband who is a journalist. An involvement with the drug cartel causes her to flee for her life with her young son. The story follows her journey through Mexico to reach El Norte, and transform from a comfortable middle-class life to that of a migrant. You know, she meets other people along the way. Gritty and suspenseful, this book definitely takes you on a journey. It even it's one of these with a map in it, so you can kind of follow her trip through Mexico along with it, because she has to take jumps on the tops of trains and stuff like that to get to the north. So that's very good, very gritty, very fun. Might not be the vacation you're thinking of, but you'll be in Mexico.
That's on my list of books to read. Haven't read that one yet. But that's all our books for today. We thank you for watching. We hope this gave you some ideas on what to read next and something you can escape to.
And don't forget to like or share this video to help our Facebook page grow, and other people can see our videos, of course. And tell us below if you read a book that whisked you away to another place, because we all could use a little whisking right now.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.